Hey, back in New York City. I want to dedicate my words, my Parsha video this week, to the memory of Devir Sorek, a 19-year-old young man from Israel whose life was mercilessly taken, and whose soul should have an aliyah through the Torah that I would like to share with you. Today on the cusps of Tisha B'av, this week we're going to be reading from Parshat Dvarim, and on Saturday night we're going right into Tisha B'av. And the question I always get around this time of year the most is, why don't we just rebuild the temple? Why are we still mourning the destruction of the temple? The first temple destroyed by the Babylonians in 586 BCE, the second temple destroyed by the Romans in 70 CE. Why are we still mourning? Why don't we just rebuild it? And I know it sounds like a crazy question, because we know the temple, the Beit HaMikdash, was not simply a building. A building we can recreate. We can always build another Jewish temple. We have beautiful synagogues throughout the world. But of course the temple, the Beit HaMikdash, was not simply an edifice, a physical building. It was the symbol of the close relationship between God and the Jewish people, which lasted for centuries. And when the building was destroyed, the physical, geographical building was taken down, it's only because the relationship between God and Israel had been altered. Something happened, something changed in our closeness, in our relationship with Hashem. And that led to the destruction of the first temple, the rampant idol worship that was happening in the Jewish community during the first temple era. And in the second temple's case, the sinat chinam, the baseless hatred. That's really what we're mourning, which is the relationship between God and the Jewish people that used to be so close, where there was prophecy, where there were offerings, where the Jewish people came and visited 3 times a year to the temple. The Sanhedrin sat. It really depicted a special relationship. So of course we could just create another building, but that's not going to bring the relationship back to what it once was. What's going to bring the relationship back is a closer connection to God, represented, of course, in this first temple with idol worship, and the second temple, baseless hatred. And that's really what we need to work on, is to get ourselves back in to God the way we used to be. And the rabbis teach that the first temple, we know, was rebuilt. So therefore we can say that idol worship, we were able to somehow fix that problem in the Jewish community. But baseless hatred, that temple is still in ruins. And therefore, in a sense, we have not rectified the sin of baseless hatred. We need to still work on that. We need to still work on our relationship with our fellow human being and our relationship with Hashem. And that's why we have Tisha B'av. That's why we mourn. Because we want to simply not lament and cry over once was, but we want to yearn and bring back and get closer to Hashem. And when we get closer, the temple, the Messiah will come, and that temple will be rebuilt. It's almost like a symbol. I always like to think of the temple as kind of like the diamond ring, depicting the love relationship between God and the Jewish people. Once a couple is in love and the man buys a ring for the woman, but once the relationship is broken down, it's not worth any more than the market says it's worth. And that's really what the relationship, and that's what Tisha B'av is about. It's about getting the relationship back. And I invite everyone on Saturday night to join us at MJE at 9 o'clock for a very meaningful service, and all day Sunday for programming. I'll be speaking about, on Shabbat, Friday night services, and Shabbat morning, we'll be speaking about Tisha B'av as well, how to really use this time, how to use Saturday night, Sunday to rebuild and to yearn for a closer relationship with Hashem, because what's really missing is the spiritual connection. The prophecy, the offerings, the Sanhedrin, all of that is just, something is missing, something spiritual is missing from our lives, and we're reflecting on what's missing because we want to fill it in. Because we fill it in, we believe we'll get another temple. And it's not just a building, it's a closer relationship and greater clarity in terms of who we are and our purpose and mission in this world. And so my blessing to all of us is that this should be the last Tisha B'av, because this Tisha B'av we use it in a very special way to get closer, so we can have that relationship that we once had. And please God, the rebuilding of the temple with the coming of the Messiah. Shabbat Shalom.